Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Kenny Cars and Coffee. I'm Kenny, and I'm here for the next hour or so to share some of my vast experience from professional motorsports and building great cars over the years. We've got kind of a nice, cool lineup today. Actually, a really interesting lineup. What we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about somebody want to know about driving at Daytona. I guess the NASA Nationals are down there. Somebody wanted to know, get some tips on driving at a big track like that. Just a sneak peek of our new S550 rear IRS diff cooler development. And this is going to be a super premium piece. Let's see. Speed Therapy Academy. I got my shirt on. Speed Therapy Academy. The next one's coming up. And we'll talk about that a little later. It's just, if you really want to learn stuff, then I strongly recommend you sign up for the Academy. We're going to talk about the new K-Link. We'll have another private review coming up September 22nd. And somebody asked about wheel hop and IRS. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our phase 1 kit for wheel hop and IRS. And then some other questions from the Speed Therapy Society. But I think first, we need to step back and kind of remember, what happened on this day 20 years ago. So I think we're going to just start off with kind of a moment of silence and remembrance. Okay, I'm sure that everybody remembers where they were that day. I remember specifically where I was. It was in the shop, and somebody came out and said that a plane flew into the World Trade Center, and I thought, oh, little Piper Cub or something got off track and flew in. But then when the second one hit, everybody knew it was kind of a really bad thing. So I just think that was a really bad day. I'm sure everybody remembers where they were then. Okay, so where are we going to start? I think we're going to just dive into, going down my list. Let's talk about Daytona. Daytona is kind of an interesting place. I've been there lots of times. I can't tell you how many 24 hours of Daytona I've done, working for different people, doing some engineering. One year I worked for a Porsche team that wasn't all that great. We started, this is like back when they used to start like a whole bunch of cars. We started something like 80th, and went through and through perseverance and a lot of repairs, we brought the car up from 80th something to like 27th or 28th. And we got awarded that, the car that made the most improvement in position. It was kind of interesting as we did a test the week before, or no, I guess the month before us, but we did a month before test. And I gave the team a list of like 5 things that they needed to take care of before the race. And they didn't think that that was so important. And sure enough, I think 4 of the 5 things bit us in the butt. And we had to do some, fixing in the middle of the night. We ended up, when the car finished, the intake manifold was held together with a Coke can, JV weld, safety wire, and duct tape. But we made it to the end. So, okay, so driving Daytona, this is really important. On the Roval, when you're putting a lot of energy into the right side tire, specifically the right rear. If you're going there, make sure that your tires are, if you're using race tires, make sure they are rated for speedway. I think Joe, one of our Speed Therapy Academy alumni, was telling me he was there at one driving event, and there was guys that were just blowing out the right rear tires. And they were racing tires, except they weren't speedway rated racing tires. So that's kind of really important that you get the right tire. And the whole key to a good time, good time. Everybody has a good time in the infield, but a good lap time. The real key is getting out of the bus stop in the back. I mean, that's the first corner you need to focus on. You want the highest exit speed possible out of the bus stop, because that's a long ways around to turn one. So, the rest of it is pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just, they're easy corners. The international horseshoe, you want to kind of hang out in the middle and dive in at the end. But the big thing is check those tires. And also when you're doing, be sure you're checking the temperatures on that right rear tire and the right front tire, because they really, really get a lot of energy pumped into them. So, okay, that's Daytona. I think we want to do a sneak peek of our IRS diff cooler. We're developing a new package, and I'm telling you that we're doing just absolutely top end. So everything is top end stuff. I think Carrie's going to have to help me out today because we are having a little bit of a technical issue. Anybody who's been with me for a while know we're experts at having technical issues, not so expert at curing them. So, Carrie, if you could pull up the picture of the prototype package, and we can take a look at it. Okay.
I take it you weren't seeing it.
Nope.
Okay, I will try one more time. Here
we saw the trade center. I guess we're not going to have a picture.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. It says I'm sharing it, but obviously you're not seeing it. So do you want me to try one more time, or?
Well, I'm looking at that PowerPoint that still hasn't populated into OneDrive. So I guess we're not going to be able to show you a picture.
Let me try it.
It worked. It worked when we practiced it before we came on air. Don't you love technology? Just drives me nuts. See, one more time, and there we go. I see page with nothing. There we go. Okay, yay. Okay, that's kind of the sneak peek of our new S550 rear diff cooler. Now, you've heard me talk before. I mean, if you have an IRS car and you're going to go on track, you have to have a diff cooler. I mean, just plain and simple. The reason being is that, you're driving the car hard and you've got all these gears. You got, the pinion gears, you got if you've got a torsion, you got all the worm gears. If you've got clutch type, you got all these clutches. All these things are making heat, and a lot of it. And there's no way for an IRS, a little aluminum IRS pumpkin, to shed that heat. Now, in a live axle car, it's not so bad. You've got that whole big steel axle, lots of surface area, lots of mass to absorb the heat. So for track days, you really don't need to put a diff cooler on a live axle car because there's enough mass to pull it out. Now, on race cars, actually, because instead of running a little 20-minute session, you're on a 45 or an hour, we absolutely have to have a diff cooler on race cars, for live axle cars. But the thing is, with IRS, you got this little bitty pumpkin, aluminum, no place for the heat to go. So it's really, really important that you have a way to pull some of that heat out. So this is kind of a prototype. What we're doing, we're using just all top-end premium products, the lines, the fittings, and what we're going to do is it's going to come with all the hoses pre-cut and some directions on how to put it in. As far as difficulty, I'd say out of 5 wrenches, it would probably be a 4 because there is a number of holes to drill, and then also there is some wiring to do because the way we have this set up, it is thermostatically controlled. And when we did the rear diff coolers for the SN95s for the Cobras, what we used to do is we used to put a little toggle switch up the driver could reach during the race or the session. And what we found is people get so excited driving they forget to turn the diff cooler on. They burn up differentials. So to avoid that, what we've done is, and we'll show it, I've got a little video that we're going to have probably in a week or so. What we've done is we put it's electronically controlled, and there's a little thermostat thing in there, and as soon as the diff temperature, the oil hits 180 degrees, it automatically turns the system on, turns on the pump and the fan. And we always, on our rear diff coolers, use a fan. You can't rely on airflow back in that area of the car, but if you have a fan, then you guarantee airflow. And then it won't click off until you're under 180 degrees, which means if you're really running hot, you're running like 200 degrees rear diff temperature, you pull into the pits, you turn the car off, the diff pump is going to, and cooler's going to keep running until the temperature gets down to 180. Okay, what do I have next on my list? I see two pictures. Do you see two pictures? Do you see two pictures, Carrie?
Of me and you?
Yep, there we go. There I am.
Sorry about that. I had to get out of my screen, so.
Okay, I am back. Okay, let's see. Diff Cooler Speed Therapy Academy fall semester is coming up. And like I say, everything I talk about in Cars and Coffee and in some of the workshops, I mean, I think that if you've been listening for a long time, or if you haven't, go back and listen to the other ones. I talk about a lot of stuff, and it's kind of like based on, it's not really organized. And so it's based on, what people ask me. I try to answer questions because I want to share with you what you want to know about and what I've learned. I mean, I've got 50 years of experience in professional motorsports and building absolutely top-rated cars. So I've been there, done that, made a lot of mistakes. And if I can help you not make a mistake that saves you money, then to me, that's a good day. I mean, I have a great long career, and I have no problem sharing most of what I know. And that's what happens in the academy. We take things we've talked about in Cars and Coffee and in the workshops, and it's 16 weeks now, 2 nights a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, starts at 7 o'clock. And we try to finish up by 8, but a lot of times we get conversations going, and it might go a little longer. It's in Zoom, by the way. So everybody, it's like a classroom. Everybody can talk to everybody. You can talk to me throughout the presentation. And then we also have master classes, which I know a lot of people in the industry, and we'll bring somebody in that I know from the industry, and they'll do kind of like a 20, 25-minute talk on their area of expertise, and then we open up the questions. Our academy guys can ask our master class masters questions. I mean, we've got one on plumbing and cooling. We've got driving. We've got wheels. Steve Shard from Forge Line. We're going to try to get brakes this time. We've had a hard time getting anybody at Bear to break free because they're so busy. And what are some of the others that I missed, Carrie? Carrie?
There we go. So I hate to tell you this, Ken, I was doing other things. So I didn't hear all the things you said, but for the master classes, we have a driver coach come in and teach some driving instruction. We have the hardware. We also had, every session we have different master classes. And this session we had somebody on trailers, and you think trailers, what is there to know about trailers? That was actually one of the most popular master classes we had because he gave really good indications if you're purchasing a trailer or if you have maintenance on your trailer, how to take care of it. It was really, really interesting. We also had on wheels and tires, like you said, we're going to have braking. Who else did we have?
We had Tony the Tuner.
Yeah, Tony the Tuner is always very popular. We had somebody on fire suppressant systems, and we also had Ben from safety
harnesses. So, anyway, we every time we try to add at least one more new person to the master class. Master classes actually turned out to be really popular with our academy alumni. But yeah, I pretty much go through the whole car, and by the time we get to the end, we're talking about setting up on track and things that you can do to your car. It's street car, track car, doesn't make any difference. What you're going to learn is things you're not going to learn anywhere else. Plain and simple. You're absolutely not going to learn what I teach anywhere else. The information I give you is accurate. And I keep telling people the worst place to get information for your car is the internet and the paddock. That's why we started this whole thing. So I could give you like real information based off of my experience. That's something I read, something I heard. This is the real stuff. So it's pretty cool. And in the end, we'll go through all the car setup, and then we do a couple of weeks of driver coaching, where people will send in their videos, on-track videos, and I'll kind of coach them. From what I can see, I'll give them some suggestions on how to drive a little better, how to have quicker lap times. So it's pretty comprehensive. Have you ever cut Paul's video down to a few minutes, or is it still pretty long?
I think Brad cut it down to about 6 minutes. So maybe we'll play toward the end of today. How's that sound?
Okay.
So people want to hang out and watch it.
Okay, so that's coming up. And then, my new patented rear suspension featuring the K-Link. It's AGS 4.5. For those that haven't been with us for a long time, I started developing suspension systems 86, 87 on the Celine R endurance race cars, in which we won in 87. We won all 4 national championships in the SCCA Pro Endurance Racing. We just kind of cleaned up. In 86, we won the 24 Hours of Canada with our backup car because the first car crashed. And anyway, that started my AGS Advanced Geometry Suspension Systems, because I was working with one of the engineers at Ford, and we made some adjustments, so to speak, in the 87 cars to make them turn. And that was AGS 1.0. It's evolved through the years. The current for the S197 cars is AGS 4.0. And I pretty much guarantee you're not going to find a better handling suspension at dollar for dollar. AGS 4.0 is the bomb. And my suspensions aren't parts, they're systems. So we have 3 components to my suspension on the S197: rear grip kit, front grip kit, and springs and shocks. And the rear grip kit in 4.0 is we probably will have. I think when we do the reveal, I'll talk more about the geometry, because I've been studying geometry on Mustang since '87, and I pretty much got it figured out. And then from there, I developed this new K-Link, which is absolutely nothing in the market to compare to it. It does magical things to the back of the car. We're calling it AGS 4.5 because all we do with the rear grip kit is swap out the panner bar for the panner bar with the lower roll center for the K-Link, and it does magical things. For example, we have like Steve out in Oregon. When he put AGS 4.0 on his Boss S, but not Boss S, but Boss Laguna Seca, he knocked about 4 seconds off his best lap time. He put the K-Link on, took another 4 seconds off his best lap time. We've got David out in California. He's just starting out, but nevertheless, he has a Ford Racing Boss 302S, the race car that Ford built. And the difference between the suspension that comes on the Ford 302S, and he got the full AGS 4.5 along with the JRZ RS Pro double adjustable remote canister shocks. And his first outing, he took 8 seconds off of his best lap time at Sonoma. It's a big track with a lot of corners. And then we did that was on the Saturday evening. I did a little debrief with him. I gave him a couple of suggestions on shock adjustments. He went out the next day, knocked another 2 seconds off. So this thing is truly magical. There's absolutely nothing that will give you more rear grip than the K-Link. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So we're going to have an introduction on the 22nd. We thought we'd have a link up today, but it never happened. So we'll probably be emailing, texting, however Bridget and Kerry and Brad communicate with the link, hopefully by Monday. So you can sign up for that, because it is a private showing. We do these because it's such a complex piece. We've been doing these in just small lots. This is going to be lot 3. And you'll have an opportunity to put a deposit on one, because we take deposits and then we build them. It's pretty cool. You see it, you're going to die. We had another customer installed it. I can't remember who it was, but anyway, a friend of his was looking at it and he said it is absolutely beautiful. Another customer say that it looks like jewelry. Another one say it's like a piece of art. So you really want to sign up. for the introduction, the showing, the private viewing. We really haven't come up with a good name for it.
So anyway, Kenny, guess who else is here? I don't think you've heard what Cliff has taken off his time, but we have Cliff and Paul Dondero here also, who have the K-Link on their cars.
Yeah, they'll probably put a comment up on what they think about the K-Link.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty awesome. It's kind of like you almost can't break the back of the car loose. In fact, it adds so much rear grip. Okay, get ready for this. Adds so much rear grip that we have to seriously increase the rear spring rate so the cars will turn. Otherwise, they have great turn in, and then there's so much grip in the back, I just push the front of the car out. So we actually have to increase the rear spring rate in the back to match the front. And typically on a live axle car, we're running 30-40% less spring in the back, just to get the back of the car to hook up. But with the K-Link, we've got to run the same spring rates front and rear, which incidentally is just like our IRS cars. Our IRS cars, we run the same spring rate front and rear. And another little secret I'll share with you is I talk about the roll center all the time. And about as low as you can get the roll center on a live axle at the bottom of the diff. I think with a panel bar like we do, we actually lower the roll center even more with K-Link. And it's got a similar roll center to our 99 to 04 IRS Cobra package. So if you want the ultimate handling in a Mustang, you got to check this thing out. I mean, it's beyond awesome. Okay, now speaking of suspensions, I think I wanted to go to the questions because that'll lead into our show and tell today. Let's see, we had, I talked about Daytona. Thorson, did the KB lower controller SN95 change the angle of the sway bar? Unfortunately, we haven't manufactured those for a long time, and we haven't, since we moved to Chicago and back to Indy, we haven't brought them back in the system yet because we have so many new products coming out, we just haven't got to. Well, we've been focusing on an SN95 with IRS. We've got the best IRS package. In fact, we're the only people that specialize in IRS on the Cobra IRS cars. Because to me, when they came out, I was just happy as a clam. Everybody else in the Mustang world was going, apoplectic. They didn't know what to do with it. It had wheel hop. It didn't do this, didn't do that. Well, I've been working on IRS cars back in the 70s, IRS sports cars and race cars. So to me, it was, I understood it, knew how to make it work. So we've got, we have a really great IRS package. We're finding a lot of people are putting the IRS out of the Cobra onto Fox cars, which I think is the coolest thing ever. A light car like that with an IRS in the back and our front grip kit in the front, and it'll handle like a dream. So anyway, the thing about the IRS, though, when it first came out, everybody complained about wheel hop. So, the thing that I do is I look, if there's a problem, I look for a solution. And, why do they have wheel hop? Well, everything's mounted in rubber. So what you do is you got torque coming from the motor, you got the tire that'll grip, and all these rubber things will move, and then they'll get to a point, and then they'll snap back, move and snap back, and then they don't have enough spring or shock to control that. That's why you get this wheel hop. So we have a phase 1 kit that consists of a few key parts, which it puts you on the road to reducing wheel hop. The first one is the forward torque brace. Turn this around. Now the factory forward brace is tubular with squashed ends, and it's curved, and there's no strength in a curve, and the tubing is not all that strong. So you can see this is pretty darn robust forward torque brace. This isn't going to move. It isn't going to bend. And then what we do is we have our aluminum diff bushings. The factory ones are rubber, and we used to use aftermarket urethane, which puts the pinion angle exactly where it was on the car. But I went to these for a couple of really good reasons. First of all, it's aluminum, and you can see we've got big little washers. Well, it acts like kind of a heat sink. That's not going to take enough temperature out of the car on track to make a difference, but every day-to-day driving is going to help pull some temperature out of the diff. And what we do is we can actually originally designed were these washers would be on top here. But what I found is that if we put them on the bottom, we actually move the pinion angle up just slightly. Now, I think it was, I can't remember the year, maybe in 2001, there was some driveline vibration issues with the Cobras. We had one customer down in Kentucky that came up. He had his car at the Ford deal like 3 or 4 times for driveline vibrations. And they changed everything. They changed the drive shaft, everything. They still had it. We put these on, put the pinion angle up, vibration went away. So that's a really good piece. I mean, that does so much different things. And then the other thing that we do, this is on the easy part, we call it this is a rear steer kit. Now, what it is I found when I was testing the FR500, the SN95 FR500 down at Road Atlanta at a Ford Racing put on kind of a media event with media showing off their FR500. Those that may or may not remember it, it was a double wishbone car, IRS in the back. The front was great. The back, every time on Road Atlanta, there's like 2 big right-hand turns down the other end. Every time in the same spot in the second right-hand turn, the back of the car would get loose. Every time. I came back and started, working on looking at all this in my geometry program on my computer. What I discovered is at a certain point of roll, both rear wheels would turn in the wrong direction. So if you're going right, you get to a certain degree of roll and the wheels turn left and the back of the car just gets loose. So this actually is the first step in improving the rear roll steer. And we move the inner point down all the way to the bottom. And of course, I
signed up.
Where'd that come from? Okay. And just like all of anything with a rod end and threads, now if you can see that there's a little change in coloration, that's because we put anti-seize, all our control arms, or anything that has a rod end with steel gets anti-seize. And if you've got an IRS car and the outer tie rod is shot, and you go to your local Ford dealer, they're not going to have it. You go to your parts store, they're not going to have it. But if you come to us, we'll have it. Because we had one, once we knew we weren't in production anymore, we had one of our suppliers put the outer tie rod back into production. So that's my little talk on the IRS. We might do a workshop sometime if people are interested on the full IRS package that we do, because it's like I say, I mean, we do things nobody else does. Because it's just like in '99, I was really happy when the IRS came out. I knew how they worked. I knew how to make them work, and we just stuck with it. So moving down my list, so I got that kind of. I threw that in for the question of let's see who was it, Thorson. I want to know about our rear lower control arm. But if you have any old lower control arms, it doesn't change the angle of the sway bar. We tried to get it in the exact same position, but we just haven't brought that back because we've been too busy. We were focused on the IRS at some point in a year or so, maybe. I'm going to do a bolt-in 4-link, which got real geometry for Fox SN95, so we can really make them work. So that's down the road. Okay, so going down my list, here we got Tim Thomas, one of our guys. Does the pedal feel travel change significantly with an upgrade to the 6-piston Kenny Brown Bear brakes from the OE Brembo 4-piston? The answer is no. And the reason is piston or caliper volume. The guys at Bear very carefully calculate the same caliper volume for brake fluid that the Brembo has, and they make the pistons accordingly. So even though there's more pistons, the volume doesn't change. It means there's absolutely no change in brake feel. In fact, some people say it even feels better. I can tell you for sure that if you've got stop tech brakes in a Mustang and you go to the Bear, there's a significant improvement in feel, because we've had that happen a couple times with people. Back when they first, stop tech kind of blew into the market. It's a good product, don't get me wrong. It's just not the product for a Mustang. We had got a couple of their kits, and I just never really really felt that the pedal felt really like I wanted to, and that's when we switched over to Bear, and it rock hard every time. So we've had a number of people that have gone from the Stop Tech to the Bears and just love the difference. Okay, let's see. We got Carl wants to know, is the 0304 Cobra hood a good functioning hood? I'm gonna say yes and no. I mean, it's got those little depressions that go down and a little hole. Quite frankly, the hole is not big enough. What you really need to do if you've got one of those cars is expand the hole a little bit, and then on the very front, where the hood comes back, the very front, go to like Lowe's or Menards or Home Depot, and you can buy this thin angle iron, aluminum angle iron. Measure how thick it is right there, and then get one that sticks up, maybe 3/8 taller, and you just either pop rivet it or pop rivet it in there, so you've got like a gurney, and that little gurney lip will help create negative pressure and help draw the air out. So yes, they're okay, but they're not big enough to really get the air out. We did on George's car. He had it was an 01, but he had that type of hood with impressions. And what I did is I got some carbon lubers from Genesis, and we basically cut that out, and we put these lubers in, and it works great. I probably should have put a picture up, but it worked pretty darn good. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Robert wants to know, is there any benefits to learning a track via sim racing before heading there? Absolutely. If you can do that, do it. Actually, I'll tell you a story. There's a couple of years ago at Road America, and I think this is World Challenge in the GT class, a young guy that had never been to Road America before actually won the GT class going away. And the reason was that he had driven it so many times on his sim that he already knew the track. So when he got there for his first time, he just walked on everybody. So yeah, absolutely. If you can do a sim on a track before you get there, do it. I mean, it's yeah. So okay, I think I've gotten through everything. I forgot we've got a couple of news announcements. Our good friend Wes Dunkel has published a new Mustang book, and let's see if I can. Okay, Wes has published a new book that's going to be out. Is it in October, Carrie?
No, actually, it's going to be out in December, but we're taking pre-orders for it now, is what he's doing. And I think Brad has a link, so he'll post the link if you want to get it, pre-order it through Amazon. I'll let you tell the rest about it. It's a pretty interesting book.
Yeah, Wes is a really good guy. I mean, we've known him for a long time. He was really close friends with my late son, Paul, and he's a professional photographer. I mean, he gets hired to photograph races. He's all over the country, and he's a pretty darn good writer. And he's publishing this book. You can take pre-orders on it, and I'm proud to say that we have a little bit of exposure in that book. He talks about our stuff, so I strongly recommend it. We'll have the link so you can pre-order it. Or get it on the list to pre-order it, because I suggest you do it. I mean, Wes is a good guy. It's a good book. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Now, the other piece of news is when is the Mustang Hub coming out?
Mustang Hub should be out any day now. You want to talk a little bit about what Mustang Hub is first, or do you want me to tell?
Mustang Hub is an interesting magazine. Now, they got a lot of drag racing in it, but that's what the Mustang market is. But it's a really, really great group of guys. Those that aren't in the industry don't know, but there's been like this corporate takeover of the media aftermarket, enthusiast magazines. And, we knew Muscle Mustangs when I was in New Jersey. Then it got bought by somebody in Florida, it was bought by somebody else, bought by somebody else, bought by somebody else. Now there's like this conglomerate's put all these magazines together. And, like big corporations, they just throw people away. And what happens is the Mustang Hub is a really good group of guys that got fed up with that whole big corporate thing and started an enthusiast magazine on their own. It's really top quality. And the thing about it, in the next issue, the K-Link is going to be featured. So Wes wrote an article on the K-Link, and it's going to be there. Wes didn't get the K-Link into the book that he has right now just because of timing. Our K-Link came out later than he could get it in the book. So Mustang Hub, I'm not sure. Anybody know where we can get it? Brad, do you know?
Brad can't. He doesn't have his volume on. I will get that next time.
Okay.
I don't know what's coming up here on my screen, so we'll get it for you. Okay. We'll be talking about it next week. So
we'll have more information for you next week on it. But I saw one copy, and it's just really, really well put out. It's not like these cheesy little thin pages with some of the magazines. It's pretty decent. So next week we'll have some information on where you can get the Mustang Hub. Okay. You want to do Paul Dondero and then answer questions?
Yeah, let's do Paul Dondero. And also we have a couple more people out there that have the K-Link on and that have some comments, specifically Cliff and Paul. So we'll get to that as well too. So I'm going to take this down and we will see if this works. Ready? Let me know if you can see it.
Yep. Academy, because I'm new to I signed up for the Academy because I'm new to automobiles and the whole track scene. So I really did not have a good idea as to why Kenny put the parts together the way he did and how they all work together. And most importantly is I really didn't know how to set up the car and make the adjustments on the car when I'm at the track. So that was a main motivator for me. For me, the takeaway was the knowledge of knowing what's in my car now and how to make those adjustments and appreciating what I have and feeling confident with the car. For me, that was everything. I'm a guy, I've been around racing this, that, and the other thing most of my life. And this is a stretch for me. Automobiles are new. This is, everything I've raced didn't have a motor. I've been racing sailboats and I raced luge back in the day. So, we didn't have motors and whatnot. And what I did learn, most of my life was you have to have the right equipment in, and the equipment has to work well together, and it's got to be tuned correctly. And I learned all of that in the Academy. I mean, what I learned in the Academy in the 16 weeks we did with this, 17, whatever it was, it's a blur now. That learning curve was huge. I mean, that would have taken me a lifetime to learn. And because I am new to this, and trust me, when I say new, I've only been at this for like 4 or 5 years. Their eyes are going to be wide open when they find out when Kenny starts talking about geometry. And that was Greek to me for a long time, and I still go back and everybody who goes to the Academy has the ability to go back and re-watch the videos because they are all recorded, and you can get all the nuggets. If you didn't get it the first time, the second time, you can go back and watch it. So I think understanding the geometry and why the car is doing what it's doing, it was an eye-opener for me. That was okay. When I understand why something works, then it becomes second nature, and then there's real knowledge there. Kenny does break it down into, and you've seen him on Cars and Coffees. Anybody who's listened to him, he says it's chassis, suspension, wheels, tires, brakes, and he goes through each one of those hard and so you fully understand it. And he brings in the pros. He brings in the people, your special guests. They're wonderful. I mean, those master classes are gold. I mean, not that you're not getting a master class from Kenny, but Kenny will freely admit, if there's something I don't know it. And he does bring in the people that know what they're talking about, and that is huge, absolutely huge. The class it's really priceless, because the knowledge that somebody gains through this course is going to be, if you don't, it's going to be hard earned. You're going to spend a lot of time, money, and effort learning it the hard way. And I think taking this course has a huge amount of value to it. Number one is you're going to go, at least for me, I go to the track now confident what I'm doing. I'm not getting, my information from the paddock or, Joe Blow on the internet or anywhere like that. I got it from the guy who does this thing for a living. Going through the academy and going to the track, I mean, literally setting up my kit, getting the tools out, having the car adjusted. It went much, much easier, quicker, and I have to keep saying I have more confidence in what I'm doing. It gave me all the confidence in the world to make the adjustments, pull the tire, get the tire temperatures, and all of that, and dialing in the car for the temperature stuff, then pressures and how to dial all that in. Huge, absolutely huge. Troubleshooting when we got a little later into the class, that was big stuff. That helped a lot. The master classes were, heck, those were worth the price of admission in of itself, really. Tony the tuner coming in and talking about keeping the car cool. We talk about radiators and whatnot, and, which are for my little V6, it's adequate right now, but the 3-pass one would be a nice insurance policy. But he said keeping the core temperature of the car cool, which is that was just a nugget. I mean, that's something that just stuck in my head. The safety guys, my gosh, the guy from the safety was huge. See, from Impact. That was huge. Went and got myself a Hans device, because when I sat down and thought about it for a while, I said, I'm pretty new to this stuff. I drive my car really hard, and it takes I think a 20-mile-an-hour head-on hit to really do some damage to your spinal cord. So I went and got a Hans device, and I'm a nurse and I work in healthcare, and I've seen bad things happen. And I just don't. I'm there to have fun. I want to be safe, and if a Hans device helps, that's what we're going to use. So those kinds of things, the proper how to set up the straps, make sure the straps are at the right angle. The driver portion of the academy was priceless. Whether you sent the video in or not, it really doesn't matter. You're looking at other drivers. You can learn a lot from everybody, and Kenny's coaching it's priceless again. We talk about using the whole track. There's a lot of times, myself included, where we may crab into a corner going in a little early just because it kind of feels good, but it may not necessarily be the fastest way around the track. Seeing that kind of scene, see where the braking points are, those kinds. Everybody's time nowadays is precious. We all work harder. We all have, more pressures and getting pulled in different directions. But if somebody takes down and takes the time to do these classes, you're definitely going to have more fun at the racetrack. I will guarantee it.
Okay, well, thank you, Paul. The video was a little choppy. Was it choppy to you, Karen?
Yeah, I think the problem is I'm running it on our home internet server. Yeah, so I think you probably should have ran it. So sorry about that, guys. And thank you so much, Paul. It was just fun having you as part of the group. I'm sure you're going to be part of the alumni as well. So let's see.
And Paul, cars might be kind of new to them, but speed is not. Just a little side note, Paul is an Olympic luge racer, which I think takes some pretty big cojones. Sitting on your butt in a little can gone down that really fast. So he's familiar with speed, just not in cars. But he's been doing it extremely well on track with the 4.4. He's got 4.5 suspension, and what he learned in the academy. He's really having a great time. So I think we're ready to move into some questions if we have any today.
Okay. Yeah, we have a couple questions. Let me see where we are. Cliff also commented. He was right on comments, Paul. The academy was a great learning experience. So thank you, Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff's got AGS 4.5 too, with jerseys.
Yeah, and actually that leads right into the next question or the next comment, I guess. Cliff is here. Let me see where it is. Okay, Cliff's on the K-Link. His comment is, the car turns in like butter. Look where you want to go, and it turns. No white knuckles, no pucker. The car hits the apexes and tracks out with the gas. Oh, there, put it up. On early, no understeer and no loose rear oversteer on track out. The car works. Ask me about brakes. Awesome.
Oh, yeah, he's got our Pro 4R brakes on there too. If you're building a serious track car or a Mustang race car, you really should look at our Pro 4R brakes package. I mean, it is professional grade race brakes. It's based off of, a few years back, I got together with Bear, and I was talking to Rick and said, we want to kind of do our own package for track guys that's different and better than anybody else. And his suggestion is when Paul was racing in World Challenge, he did the first race with the Bear 6-piston R calipers, the race calipers. And the SCCA said, no, look at the rule book. You have to have 4-piston calipers. So Bear put together a 4-piston race brake setup for him. And they only built a handful of them. They've been sitting on the shelf ever since. So that was the foundation for the Pro 4Rs. We started with Paul's, and we just added a ton of new features, huge amount of features. And to get the kind of features we have in the Pro 4Rs, you've got to go to a Brembo GTR, which is like something like $8,700 an axle set. But Pro 4Rs are under $4,000. It's like $3,900, and it's pretty cool. Plus, on the fronts, the brake pad is 25 millimeters, which means it's 0.98 inches thick. Imagine that, an inch thick brake pad on the front, and it's a Pro caliper, so you've got a clip, you drop them in, you can change brake pads in about a minute. So if you're looking for really serious brakes, we can probably put I don't know if anybody can put up the brochure, but maybe we'll share that in one of the other formats. So okay, Pro 4R brakes just work.
Just one comment from the K-Link works. The car is easy to drive and very fast. Okay, we'll get to some questions now.
Paul has a V6, and he outruns the V8s. So think about that.
Okay, so here's a question for us. Let's see. Here's from Annabis. I'm having noises from my front sway bar, and greasing does not seem to be helping. I am going to replace the poly bushings with new ones. What is the proper way to grease the bushings inside only?
Well, first thing you have to use the magical, awesome, ugly, terrible to deal with sway bar grease. It's really sticky, and if you get it on your hands, you can't get it off. But you have to use the right ones, and you should just be able to smear the inside of the bushing. And the thing is, though, if you're in with a lot of dust, you need to pull it apart periodically and check and clean it up, because if you're like in a dusty environment, dust will kind of pack itself in there and it'll dry out the grease. So it's just the right gooey grease stuff, and make sure everything's clean. Also, if you've got like a stock sway bar that like in the Fox cars, they had it was kind of like a steel sway bar that was kind of rough. We used to polish those. But yeah, I mean, if you need some of the gooey grease, let us know and we'll get some to you.
Yeah, Annabis actually has your front grip kit and your rear grip kit. He has a S197 and he's looking at getting the JRZ shocks right now. Just give Rich a call and he'll send you out some of that goopy grease. So we have little samples of it. Okay, the next question.
I suggest when you do it, wear gloves, because if you get the grease on your hands and you go to wash it off, soap, no, Gojo, is it Gojo? No, soap won't take it off. You can sort of get it off with WD-40, believe it or not. So it's really sticky and it's purposeful just for urethane bushings.
Okay, here's our next question. When switching to just water in the cooling system, should you use distilled water?
Well, that's a great question, and I know the answer to that. Why? Because we had Ryan from Fluidyne on talking about cooling in radiators, and I can tell you his comment is yes, use distilled water. Also, if you're using distilled water, you need to add cooling stuff. Lost my brain. It's Saturday morning. God, somebody help me.
Water wetter?
Water wetter. Thank you.
It's such a difficult word, Kenny.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought about it until I had to say it. So you have to add water wetter. And what I found interesting is that, if you read the label on water wetter, and it says like add 1 to the radiator, Ryan's talking about adding at least 3. Because you need that, you need the lubricating properties of it, and it'll actually, make the whole car run cooler, and it'll fight corrosion. So if you're using pure water, yes, distilled water is the best, and then also you need at least 3 bottles of water wetter. I mean, you can go to 4 or 5. That's based off of what I learned. See, I like having these guys come in, because every one of our masterclass experts, I learned something. Even I learned something from them, and that's something I learned from Ryan is, distilled water is the best, but a lot of water wetter. Okay, who's next?
Let me check it out here. Actually, if there's any more questions, this is last call for questions. We're going to have a lot of questions today. It's still the middle of summer. People are enjoying themselves. So let's see. Anubis has a comment, Ken. He said that he is using the silicone that we provided. Does that make sense? Why?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to clean it out real good. Yeah, I mean, it's just that we look at urethane bushings as a maintenance part that needs to be cleaned and re-greased periodically.
Okay, and Kobe Ward has a question. Can you recommend a rear diff catch can for an S197?
I mean, yeah, there's tons of things you can do. If you're doing a catch can for S197 on the axle on the top, there's a little thing sticking up and looks like a little steel cap on it. That's the vent. What you want to do is you want to take that out and screw in like a brass fitting with a barbed fitting, and then put rubber hose onto it. And then what I always do is I'll do at least 2 or 3 loops, and then go into the catch can. So there's sometimes that it'll push some fluid out. If it's in the loops, it'll suck it back in after it cools down. But the reason for that is the heat. Remember I told you that differentials heat up. Well, in S197, you got to have some place when heat expands, air. Just have some place for that air to get out, and that's where you do that. And you can use I mean, if you look on the internet, there's a number of them. We've even at times used an oil bottle. It's just anything. You can use anything. It's not really that sophisticated. We use, like I say, like oil bottles, and I think we used one time we were kind of pressed and had to use like a little brake clean can, but we did extra loops. So yeah, and you can mount it anywhere. You can mount it in the back. A lot of people put them in the trunk. There's a number of them. We can maybe we can find one and put it on our website. That might be good things for us to look for, because there's a lot of them out there. Yeah, I mean, any one's as good as the other. I mean, the best ones will have a little tube will go in and it'll be like a little air breather on top. so that the oil that comes out will go into the catch can, and you can some of the air pressure from the diff gets escaped. So.
Okay, we have a question from Joe Johnson, but before I post that, this is a last call for any questions for Kenny. So Joe Johnson has a question. He's actually one of Speed Therapy Academy alumni, and Joe, we love you to death. Here we go. Is it important to separate the brake fluid and the clutch fluid with two separate containers?
I would say yes. What he's talking about is Ford started doing the S197 hydraulic clutch, and they use the same master cylinder for the hydraulic clutch as the brakes. And sometimes you get into issues where the brakes get hot, and it makes the brake fluid for the clutch hot. Plus you got all the exhaust and stuff down in there, and it kind of gives you a mushy clutch pedal. So yeah, we've been on our track cars and serious track cars, we've been separating out the master cylinders. We got a separate little master cylinder for the clutch, and I think it's if you can do it, if it's a track car, it's a recommended upgrade. Is it totally necessary? Not really, but it's really good upgrade to make. So.
Okay, I think, again, this is last call for questions, and I'm just going to chat a little bit about some of the things you covered, Kenny.
Let me back up a little bit.
Sure.
Something you can do on the brake, on the clutch, the hydraulic line down to the clutch, you can get something called Fire Shield, which is like, you can put on spark plugs or anything. It's kind of like a heat resistant thing. You can put Fire Shield in that all the way down. That'll keep the heat out of it and keep it from getting hot. Okay, Carrie.
Okay, sure. So just kind of review. So we have a lot going on right now. First of all, next weekend we're going to be at Cruise Indy. So Kenny's going to be doing the show live from there next week. So look for that. If you're in the area, stop by and visit them. The other thing is we have sign up for the Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Academy. It starts at the end of September, so you only have about a week or so to sign up. If you have any questions, just give us a phone call on that. We also have the private showing of the K-Link rear suspension. That is going to be September 22nd, and the link should be in the chat area. Also, I wanted to mention the Wes Dunkel's Mustang S197 book. Kenny was a little modest on that. Wes wanted to choose what he found was the best products out there, and what he did on this for the suspension on his car was full Kenny Brown front and rear IRS suspension. It actually includes the K-Link, but that was not
IRS. You said IRS.
I'm sorry. Oh boy, S197. Sorry about that. S197. So if you have an S197, I recommend getting that. And I believe Brad has put a link in the comments in order to pre-order that book. I think we're going to have Wes on as a guest in a couple weeks he's going to have an actual copy of the book as well. So that should be fun. And then we also are going to be in Mustang Hub. If you're interested in that, K-Link and reading a little bit about it, it's the first magazine that it's in is in Mustang Hub. And I believe Brad put a link in there for that as well. So let's see if there's any more questions. I'm not even at the bottom here. Okay, Cliff Glenn says, Joe, I like mine separated. Clean clutch fluid makes me just feel better. So that's
yeah. We did that. We did it on Cliff's car. We did that. We put a separate master cylinder on for the clutch because he's a full-on tracker. FR500S. You may have heard this before, but he actually has one of the FR500S cars that I engineered in the Mustang Challenge in 2009 and 2010, which is really cool to see it again. It was kind of like an old friend. But he went full banana, front grip kit, rear grip kit, 4.5 in the back, Pro 4R brakes, and the GRZ single adjustables. And I can guarantee that car is just a dream to drive.
Okay, we have one more question, and Brandon is making it. So you last year 1 hour, Kenny, you're 45 seconds away. So here we go, Brandon. What are your thoughts on a Coyote? Brandon, maybe what car are you swapping it into? Maybe.
Well, I see a Fox.
Okay, so what? Yeah. Oh, and a Fox. Okay, that would make sense. What is your thoughts on a Coyote swapped Fox?
I mean, the Coyote seems to be, a really popular engine to put in Fox cars. You can do it. We haven't done one yet, so I don't have any firsthand experience to tell you what. I think there's a whole bunch of different things you have to change. I got to tell you personally, if I had a Fox, I'd just build a really nice Windsor. Like we did for David out in the West Coast. He's building S197 that's going to run a NASA AIX, and he wanted to do something different. You'd think for that car it automatically put in a big Coyote motor. But what we did is I had Wagner race engines up in Wisconsin build me an all aluminum 351 Windsor that was stroked at the 408, and just with a single carburetor type fuel injection, it's like 650 horsepower and I think almost 600 pounds of torque. I mean, the Windsors make way more torque than the Coyote, and it's lighter. you put that 351 Windsor into an S197, you almost go, where's the engine? So personally, there's some really great Windsor motors out there. There's 347s. You can get a 363, 500 horsepower, and it's like easy. Okay, I'm into easy. When you put the Coyote in, a lot of people do it. Coyote's a great motor. Don't get me wrong, but you have to mess around with a bunch of things. I think you have to put Hydro Boost in it, or we don't like Hydro Boost. But anyway, I would just I would go with the Windsor. That's my personal opinion. I mean, I kind of got into Mustangs with Windsors. I really liked them, and you can there's so many parts for them. Like I say, there's 347s make good power, and then the 363 that's a Borat 302. You can just buy crate engines at 500 horsepower. So that would be my choice, because it's just so everything hooks up. You don't have to redo anything. But if you want to do a Coyote swap in the Fox, absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, they're a cool motor. I mean, we love them. They came out in 2011, and from there on out, all our track cars were just amazing with the Coyote motor. So, I mean, I love the Coyote motor. Don't get me wrong. But I think, for me personally, I got a hankering to build kind of either a hot Fox or a hot SN95 here coming up, probably years from now, maybe 2 years. And I'm going to go Windsor. My 93 Fox World Challenge Mustang has a nice little Windsor motor in it, and it's fun to drive. So that's my personal choice. Okay, anything else, Carrie?
Well, yeah, a couple little things. Also, just Kenny, you forgot to announce this earlier on, so I'm going to make the announcement that we are simulcasting live. The Cars and Coffee with Kenny Brown is simulcast live every Saturday on both the Kenny Brown Performance Facebook channel, his personal Speed Therapy Society Facebook group, and also on Kenny Brown Performance TV YouTube channel, his YouTube channel. If you want to catch this is episode 69. If you want to catch any episodes, previous episodes, go on to YouTube. You'll find all the episodes there. Plus, they're broken down into separate things. If you're interested in something on brakes, there's a separate brake section, so you can just listen to segments of what he's spoken about. So again, we're simulcasting live right now, and rewatch it on Facebook.
Simulcasting live.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, just a couple comments. We don't have any more questions, but Tim Thomasak said, I recently installed a FR steel clutch fluid line, and it did help with high RPM shift lockout. Separating reservoir is next.
Cool.
And then, go ahead.
Well, I said, you always tell me to reference my toolbox, and I forgot again. Yeah, for those that may have not been with us for a while, the reason that cruddy old toolbox is back there is that's been with me for 50 years. And it's been to every major racetrack in North America and into Canada. And, it's something that's has very dear to my heart, and I still use it every day. So that's what that crusty old toolbox is. I mean, it's
Actually, you're not supposed to call it crusty. You're supposed to call it vintage.
vintage. Okay, that's vintage toolbox. I like that better. My vintage toolbox, because I mean it's like 50 years old, so that could be considered vintage, couldn't it?
I guess so. Yep, I think so. I think that is vintage. So anyway, I think that is it for Day. Remember, the Speed Therapy Academy is coming up, and sign up for the K-Link private showing.
Okay, well, if that's it, I think we can wrap up for the day. I saw some other things popping up over here, but I don't think it has anything to do with me. So, okay, well, listen, thank you for joining me today. Please share this with your friends. If you're, I forgot to say this earlier on, there's like in YouTube, there's like 3 buttons you need to click. So you do the hat trick and click all 3 buttons: the like, the like, the share, the bell. Anyway, you know what I mean. So and then on Facebook, give us all those thumbs. That really helps too. And please share this with your friends. I mean, it's like I really want to spread the word of quality information, not the crap that you read on the internet. So I mean, if you've got friends that are into performance, please invite them to join us. I'd be happy to have them. I mean, that's why I'm here, so you guys can learn and not make the mistakes I did. Which, like I say, if I can save you from one mistake, it's a good day for me. So anyway, have a good rest of your weekend. We certainly want to remember this day. It's this really solemn day in American history. Just lets you know, it just kind of gives you aspect in how evil some people can be in this world. And I don't think that sort of thing is over. I think we've got more coming, but we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, so I don't mean to end on a dreary note, but please have a good weekend, and we will see you again next week. There's something we're going to do like next week. Mustang Hub. We're going to have a Mustang Hub magazine to show you next week. So, okay, glad you could join me. Thank you for joining. Share it with your friends, and I will see you next week. Have a good rest of your weekend. Bye.